Hello out there. We're on the air. Happy long weekend. Happy September. Holy man. Wild. Can you believe it? I can't, personally. I don't know. August might have been the fastest month in history. So I found some, it is long weekend here in Canada today. I found some Baileys in the fridge. I don't know how it took me so long to find that. We don't even have that much stuff in our fridge. But anyways, we got a little bit of Baileys. Not as much as I wanted, but like the last drops of the bottle. So it's enough for today, I guess. I don't know. All right, welcome to Zap.stream. I don't know. This thing's still not working here. But that's okay. That's okay. Hope everybody had a good weekend. I was a little bit busy myself. Oh, today's for the dogs. Mondays. There we go. So all the sats from Zap.stream today will be going into our... It says, oh, these things aren't working for me. I swear to God, I just put the dogs there and then the open sats. Okay, I'm going to have to sort this out. I'm going to have to start manually tracking these things. I thought we were going to be able to do it in the Zap.stream because the goals were working fine. Every time somebody zapped, it would say, it would increase our little chart there. Oh, I forgot to, what's Arnie got? Oh, it's his harness. Probably shouldn't be playing with that, but it's okay. We're not going to stop him. So I'm going to have to make a spreadsheet, I guess, to track the zaps because the Zap.stream isn't working great for us. That's okay. All right. Who we got here? We got Pseudonym Amuse. That's a great name over on Zap.stream. Silver Fox, good morning. And we got Letha with a zap of 2.1 thousand sats for the dogs. Okay, so spreadsheet. Thank you, Letha. And I see we got Anarcho over here. We got AD. We got Johnny Midas. Greetings from the California desert. It's been kind of California deserty here lately. It's been hot. Happy Labor Day weekend, everybody. And what a weekend it was. Well, that's what I was going to do. I forgot to. Oh, well. Maybe we'll have time. We got a good show today. It is the long weekend. It is Monday, but we're still doing the show. I figured we might as well. I don't know how many people will show up today on the long weekend, but it's just me and Arn here for the day, so why not? They are? Why not? What was I going to put here? Okay. Scotty. That's what I was going to put. Okay, well, let's kick things off here. It was a little bit of a hectic weekend here for me. I'm a little bit exhausted, a little bit tired. I did a lot of golf. So after the show on Friday, I drove into Winnipeg. We played 9 holes in Lorette, and then we played 18 holes at Pine Ridge, which was my first time there. It's probably one of the nicest courses in Manitoba. Unfortunately, we played the last 3 holes with glow balls because it was so dark. But we went out for a couple beers after and then went and played Winkler on Saturday afternoon and then drove back here. So that left here Friday, golfed, I don't know, what is that, 36 plus 9, 45 holes, and then got back at 10 the next night. So lots of driving, lots of golf, but it was a lot of fun. We actually played golf for some Bitcoin for the YouTube channel. So we're going to have some good golf videos if you're into that kind of thing. All right, let's check on the mempool. What do we got going on? I sent some Bitcoin yesterday, and I'll tell you about my experience here in a sec. I shared it on NOSTR. I shared it in the Living the Future community, but it is worth talking about. So the mempool today, we're currently at block height 859,538. And if you are transacting on the Bitcoin Layer 1 network, you're paying 3 sats per VByte. Pretty good. Foundry got the last one, and Pool got the one before that via BTC. The usual suspects here I've been cleaning up. There was a solo miner that hit a block on the weekend. It wasn't a bid axe, from what I understand, but it was still a solo miner. So I like that. It's always nice when there's solo miners steal a block from Ant Pool and F2 Pool via BTC. They got enough Bitcoin. What else was I going to say about that? Oh, okay. So yesterday I was sending some Bitcoin. I was sending Bitcoin from my LB wallet to my Sparrow wallet. Okay. So I've done this before. This was nothing new, but I think it's worth sharing because, you know, even for somebody who spends every day, all day in Bitcoin, this was something that I tried for the first time and it was a success. So I wanted to share it with everybody on here. So usually what I would do, because when you have sats on something like Get Alby or Wallet of Satoshi, Phoenix Wallet, what else? Mutiny. If it's on Lightning, it's not on layer one. So until you actually move it onto layer one, it's not real Bitcoin, in my opinion. You can still use it. It's still interoperable, but it's not real Bitcoin. So the moment you move it from like a Lightning wallet, like Wallet of Satoshi, onto layer one, that's when it's legit, in my mind. Until then, it's just kind of, it's on the internet. It's hot. You don't actually own it until you move it into your own layer one. So I was moving Bitcoin. My end goal here was to move Bitcoin from LB to my Sparrow wallet. And so LB actually doesn't allow for Bitcoin transactions from LB directly onto Bitcoin. So I had to go through a couple hoops, but usually what I would do there is I would send it from LB to my Wallet of Satoshi and then to Sparrow wallet. And I did, I wrote down the fees here just because I wanted to keep track of it. But it would have cost me 12,000 sats plus a 1% fixed fee. So we were probably looking at about 15,000 sats. That's what that transaction would have cost me, which isn't bad, but it's not great. So what I ended up doing actually was I moved it from LB into an Aqua wallet. We've been talking about Aqua wallet on here quite a bit. And I was saying I'd never used it before. And I was saying that the fees are pretty high. So anyways, I moved it from LB to Aqua. And then so when you move it to Aqua, it automatically goes onto Liquid. That's what it defaults to. It stays on Liquid. So then I swapped it into Bitcoin within the LB wallet. I think that cost me like 200 sats maybe to do that. And then once it was in Bitcoin, that's when I moved it from Aqua to Sparrow. And that transaction itself, because the fees are so low right now on the mempool, it cost me under 3,000 sats. So that's just something to be aware of. I know that we're all going to be using Lightning more and more. And I would highly encourage people, if you got like 200, 300,000, 400,000 sats, I wouldn't let your balances build up in your Lightning wallets just because it's much more likely to be rugged, I guess, than having it on layer one. Like I said, until it's on layer one, it actually isn't yours for the most part. So get into good practice of whenever your Lightning wallets accumulate to like 200, 300, 400,000 sats, just move it onto cold storage. Even though it'll cost you a little bit of fees, I just feel like it's so much safer there than sitting on Lightning. But that's try out the Aqua wallet. That was my first time using it, and it saved me about 10,000 sats taking that route. So, you know, one of the things, and this was just kind of an experiment for me. I didn't really know what was going to happen, but I wanted to try it. So one thing that I would highly suggest, if you are somebody who's fairly new to Bitcoin, just like take a couple $100, buy some Bitcoin, set up a couple different Lightning wallets, and just experiment with it. Consider that $100 or $200 worth of Bitcoin on Lightning. Consider that like an investment into your education process within Bitcoin. I mean, I share as much as I can in terms of trying to help you save some fees, but the best thing you can do is just kind of figure it out for yourself. Play around a bit, experiment. Duncan, good morning. One of our Bitcoin journeymen. So what we're going to do today is I got a couple things to talk about. A little bit of news. We're going to watch a couple videos. And then we're going to move to the second part of the show where I'm going to talk a little bit about RFK, JFK, Trump, my theory on things, and just talk things through. I know that there's people who watch the show who aren't big on Trump, and that's okay. That's up to you. But I'm going to give you my theory on it, and we're definitely not going to do it on the YouTube channel. So we're going to move over for the second part of the show to talk about that and just logically think things through. That's it. I'm not going to tell you if it's right or wrong. I'm just going to give you my thoughts, and then you can kind of form your own opinion on it. That's the way she goes, as Ricky would say. Ricky from the Trailer Park Boys, that is. One of my favorite all-time TV characters. Who would be your all-time favorite TV character from a TV show? All time. I got a couple, I think. Probably my top three would be Ricky from Trailer Park Boys, Michael Scott from The Office, and Tim the Toolman Taylor from Home Improvement. I think those are my top three all-time characters. I'm sure there's some people with better answers than that, but those are mine. Okay, we're going to save this video, I think. No, you know what? Let's start the show with this. I know that this video is going to be demonetized today because of this, but I think it's still worth sharing. I was going to save this for the second part of the show, but whatever. Who cares? I don't need the $2 from YouTube. So this is a video, actually, it looks like it's from Nicole Shanahan, which is RFK's assistant. No, that doesn't sound right. I don't know. VP maybe? So Nicole Shanahan, Team RFK, shared this video, and Elon retweeted it as well, or shared it on his account. So it's 3 minutes long, but I think it's very important. Like I said, I guarantee this is going to demonetize this show specifically, but whatever. Fuck them. So let's watch this. I love this video.
This conjunction of an immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. Yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
Listen to the wind blow, watch the sun rise.
This country will do whatever must be done to protect its own security and that of its allies.
General, we got a message from Khrushchev which said that he would withdraw these missiles fighting. We did not plan to invade Cuba.
Now the time has come for this nation to fulfill its promise.
A country is as strong really as its citizens. And I think that mental and physical health, mental and physical vigor go hand in hand.
A great change is at hand. And our task, our obligation, is to make that revolution, that change, peaceful and constructive for all.
Run in the shadows, damn your love, damn your life.
President Kennedy has been assassinated.
And if you don't love me now, you will never love me again.
The time for debate is over. The time has come to unite. We are a strong and we are a courageous people. I am announcing today my candidacy for the presidency of the United States. I do not run to oppose any man, but to oppose new policies. Policies to end the bloodshed in Vietnam. Policies to close the gaps that now exist between black and white, between rich and poor. I run for the presidency because I want the Democratic Party and the United States of America to stand for hope instead of despair.
My thanks to all of you, and now it's on to Chicago, and let's win there.
Senator Kennedy has been shot. Is that possible?
Break the silence, damn the dark, damn the light.
If you're going to do anything important with your life, there's going to be a hero's journey where you go through the valley of death. You feel you're completely alone. When my uncle was president, everybody was talking about Camelot. And I ended up reading a book about Camelot called The Once and Future King. It gave me the capacity to process pain in a different way. The trick to life is to not have expectations, but just to know what your duty is and to do it. You become relentless. Nobody can defeat you.
Tonight, I'm very pleased to welcome Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Don't you want healthy children? And don't you want the chemicals out of our food? And don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again?
What a great video. That gave me some goosebumps last night watching that. So I figured I'd share it with people. I mean, this is something we talk about quite frequently on the show, but like, I know politicians, we can't trust any of them, but at the same time, you have to have some sort of like, oh, we started again. You have to believe, and this is kind of what I want to talk about on the second part of the show today, because I know that there's so much information that comes at us. It's hard to believe. It's hard to know what's real, what's fake, who to trust, who not to trust. But you have to believe that there are good people out there. You have to. And there's good people doing good things. And whether that's out in the open or behind the scenes, whatever it is, you have to believe that there are good people out there. Because for me, most of the people that I know in real life are good people with good intentions and want to do good for the world. Most people are. But for some reason, we have this something in the back of our heads, especially Bitcoiners, especially people who are watching the show. We have something in the back of our heads not to trust anybody, and then everybody's out to get us and against us. And I go through that all the time. I'm not immune to this, but I still think that there is place in your thoughts and in your heart to know that there are good people out there, and there are good people really trying to make a difference for us and for the future. So I wanted to share that. And that's what I want to talk about in the second part of the show too, as well. But Letha says there's a JFK documentary on Prime called JFKX. It's so good. JFKX. And JFK, I mean, you have to kind of look back and through the timeline of everything that's happened through the years. And JFK you heard some of his speeches in that clip there, but talking about peace. And he was the one who actually introduced the silver dollar, the Kennedy dollar. He wanted to take out the central banks. He knew how much power they had. He knew how much evil was behind that. And so he came out with the silver dollar. And before it got put into law, I believe, no, there was some, but shortly after, I think he was assassinated. And then I think within a couple months, that's when it was taken off out of circulation. No more silver dollars, back to the fiat dollar. And then 10 years later, I guess it would have been back, that would have been 63, 64. So then a couple weeks after, they stopped the silver dollar. And then shortly after, we just went strictly fiat dollar. So I think there's a pretty good reason why whoever they was, I'm not going to say my thoughts on it, but I mean, it's pretty obvious if you've been paying attention at all who did that. But that was the reason. Get too close. And I mean, that's kind of coincides with my theory about everything here. Is I really do think that there are bigger factors at play than we know about. So anyways, let's get to something else here. I got a couple more videos I want to watch. Actually, let's do the Bitcoin wallet. Let's do the giveaway right now. I guess while I'm typing this stuff in here, a couple shout outs to give out this morning. I seen that there's some people who signed up for a Bitcoin wallet account over the weekend. So it's something we've been talking about, is just trying to spread yourself out a little bit. Get yourself a couple different exchanges, especially if you're in Canada or in the US. The exchanges typically go down when you really want to use them. So it's best to have a couple accounts set up, a couple different options for you in that situation. So if you're in Canada or the US, you can go to bitcoinwell.com/Jor. Get yourself an account, and with that, you get 5 free tosses into the wishing well. And every toss gets you some free sats. So let's see what we got today for the Bitcoin giveaway. Okay, we ready? Get your phones out, point it at the screen. We're going to toss. What do we have for unclaimed sats here? Oh, he tricked me. All right. Thought we had some freebies there. Here we go. $500 again. I mean, it's kind of disappointing, but at the same time, it's 500 free sats, so we can't really complain too much about that. We're just on a cold streak. We're going to hit a big one here eventually. I can feel it. Maybe a milli. Somebody claimed it already. So congrats to whoever won 500 sats. That is courtesy of the Bitcoin Well. Big shout out to them. So once again, if you're in Canada, the US, go to bitcoinwell.com/Jor. Get yourself an account. Get yourself some free Bitcoin. And I love the reward structure there, the incentives to buy, refer, take some knowledge quizzes, I think, for free tosses. Big fan. So it's 1% simple spread. They don't hold any Bitcoin. Any Bitcoin you buy on Bitcoin Well, you move it directly to your wallet. So I believe that they have Lightning, Liquid, and Bitcoin. So you could actually go through the same process that I went through there. If you're, instead of buying a whole bunch of or having a whole bunch of UTXOs, you can actually use Bitcoin Well, move it over into your Aqua wallet using Liquid, and then let it build up there. Wait for this. Stop that. Let it build up, and then once you have a sizable amount, that's when you move it on to layer 1. So that's the Bitcoin Well this morning. Letha says the documentary, The JFK X, is about his death. Interesting. Maybe I'll watch that today. I see somebody else. Oh, Plunger's in there. Good morning. Okay, what do we got here? We got Jared Straight. Says, hey, Jor, I have a question for you. If you hypothetically had the choice between going to medical school or buying 1 Bitcoin, what would you do? Well, you know what I'm going to say. You know what I'm going to say. But it's tough. I mean, like, it really depends. It depends how much you want to be a doctor or whatever you're doing in medical school. If that's what you want to do, then I would say pursue that. If that's something that you want to get into just because you think you're going to get a lot of money and have a big house and drive a fancy car, I think that that's the totally wrong direction to go in. So it's really in your heart what you think is best for you. I mean, both would be good investments in my mind. I think that going to medical school is a little bit different than going to university to study, gender studies or even accounting nowadays. Like accounting, marketing, all that stuff. That's a complete waste of time and money, in my opinion. I think you can learn all of that online for free or pay somebody to like get a premium course for it. But You don't need to go to school. The thing with school for me, especially something like what are we going to use here as an example? Marketing, or I don't know, even like becoming a teacher. Like you go to school, you spend 4 years, like the prime years of your life. There's certain aspects of college, university that I do like the community aspect, like meeting new people, having a lot of fun. I think that's the age when you should be doing that. But you can do that without paying a school to attend. But for me, it's like, okay, you know what you want to do in school, but they make you take all these stupid courses that really have absolutely irrelevant. You have to spend hundreds of dollars on their textbooks. You have to show up for class, waste your time, something that you have absolutely no interest in. Whatever information you take in during that course, you're going to forget the moment you write that exam. That to me is a complete waste of time. So is all school bad? No. Like if you actually want to become a doctor, if that's what you want to pursue, then yeah, take that route, because eventually it will pay off. And then you could be in the meantime, this is what I would do. If this was me and I had it in my mind that I wanted to go to medical school, I would do that. I'd commit the time, the money, the energy to that. In the meantime, though, I would be doing other things. I would maybe be doing a side hustle. I'd get onto NOSTR. I'd find all these different ways to earn Bitcoin while I'm doing that. And then once you get through your medical school, set up your own corporation and start buying Bitcoin with your profits instead of sinking it into Hummers for your kids. So in that case, that's what I would do. There's probably no right or wrong answer there. I think everybody would be in a different spot, but that's the best I could do. And the other option there is like, take a couple years off. This might be another point to this, is just take a couple years off. There's no rush. There's no rush to go to school. There's no rush to get married. There's no rush to do any of that. It's kind of on your own time. It's just society that tells you that you have to do this, then that. That's it. It's just society that tells you that. So take a couple years off, really think hard on it. Like try a few different things, go work for a few different companies, stack some Bitcoin. I think that this next 12, 16 months is the best time to be, the best opportunity we're going to have to be buying Bitcoin, and then go to school. That's one route too. Is you don't have to choose between the two. You could work for a couple of years, stack as much as you can, learn some different skills. That's another problem with people going straight from high school into university straight into the workforce. They get no skills other than the propaganda and the indoctrination from the schools. They have no real life experience outside of memorizing tests, memorizing information. Well, here you go. Here's a follow-up part of this. So I took about 7 years off and devoted all my energy to Bitcoin, but I've become so burnt out with my job. So now I'm contemplating going back from my career and leaving my Bitcoin. Oh, okay. So that's a different story then. Again, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not a life coach or anything like that, but I would definitely not be selling my Bitcoin right now. That's what I'll say for sure. There's no chance that I would be selling my Bitcoin at this point, at this stage of the game. I mean, a couple options there. You could either just wait it out, wait a couple years, wait for the bull run to happen here, and then reevaluate. The other thing too you could do there is I would never sell that. This could be for medical school. This could be for a new house. This could be for a new car. This could be for anything, but never sell the Bitcoin that you have today, ever. Especially 95% of it. And this is actually going to follow into the next segment here, I think, but never sell it. If you have to, take on debt against it and go find a good bank. If you go to your bank and say, I want to take out a loan to go to medical school, this is what I'm going to use as my collateral, Bitcoin. If they say no to that, then find a different bank, because probably 7 out of 10 banks won't accept that as collateral, but there are banks out there that will. So don't sell the Bitcoin, just take out a loan against it. And if you have to, if you don't have any other income coming in, then just sell a portion of it every month to pay off your loan or to pay the interest on the loan. That's what I would say. So I guess following up with that, I think that that's a good lead into what I want to talk about here today. Well, we got another zap for the dogs over in zap.stream. Duncan has zapped 1,000 sats for the dogs. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So this next part here, I actually saw a tweet on this yesterday, and I thought this was very relevant and something that we should be talking about. Things like this, you have to have different thought experiments like that to really have the conviction and get in the right state of mind to make decisions, I think. But anyways, the tweet basically said that, you know, if you've never spent any Bitcoin, you're not really a Bitcoiner. And I agree with that. I never really thought about it in that light before, but like if you've never spent Bitcoin before, you're not an actual Bitcoiner. If you've never been forced to sell some Bitcoin, you're not a real Bitcoiner. And the reason I say that is because if you think about it, if you've never had to sell your Bitcoin, that means that you're not in far enough into Bitcoin. That's how I see it. Because if you're somebody who, you know, has taken your savings, taken some of the majority of your pension, whatever it's in, your GIC, your savings account, if you haven't put the majority of that into Bitcoin, then that's the only reason why you would have excess cash to spend. You wouldn't have to sell your Bitcoin. So that was my takeaway from it. And I agree with that. So, you know, you kind of have to have a little bit of self-reflection here. If you understand Bitcoin, if you have the conviction over Bitcoin that it is the greatest asset that's ever existed, then do you have enough Bitcoin if you've never been forced to sell any? That's how I see it, because I have had to. And, you know, within our Living in the Future community in the last couple months, I had to sell some Bitcoin because the majority of my life's energy is into Bitcoin. So if something comes up, if I, you know, need a new engine, if I want to take a trip to Italy or Europe, which we did, then you have to sell some Bitcoin. Otherwise, you weren't holding either your free cash flow or your savings in Bitcoin. If you've never been forced to sell any Bitcoin, then you're not really far enough into Bitcoin, in my mind. And I'm sure there's people who might argue that, and people who might say, you know, you're a dink for saying that, but it's the truth. If you've never been forced to sell some Bitcoin, then you're not far enough into Bitcoin. That's how I see it. Oh, we're down some sats, down our balance here. Let me top this baby up. So that's a good test for you to ask yourself today. Are you really a Bitcoiner? Have you ever had to sell sats? And I've been listening to a lot of the stuff from, what was it, the Baltic Honey Badger conference. And I've been listening to a lot of what Bitcoin did, had their last episode, and Jack Mallers was on there. And he's been talking about being all in on Bitcoin, like basically living on a Bitcoin standard. And that's kind of what I've been doing myself too, which means that you're holding all of your excess cash, all of your excess energy in Bitcoin. You're not holding some in your pension. You're not holding some in a savings account. You're holding it all in Bitcoin because you want to hold it there instead of a sinking currency, or a currency that's being debased by the second here. So I don't know. It is tough though. And it also depends kind of where you're at in life, who you have to support, when you plan on selling some Bitcoin. It depends. But I think for, you know, if you're anyone between the ages of 25 and 45, if you're not all in Bitcoin right now, I think that you're really missing out, especially what's coming in the next little while here. There's a couple videos here I wanted to share. This is our I think we'll just share this one for shits and gigs today, because we watched a few of these videos already today, and they seem to get more and more entertaining every one we watch. So let's watch this one. This is the first. This is from Is this Bitcoin news? No, this is from Coinos. This is from Coinos. So we've watched the first liquor store in Canada accept Bitcoin. We watched there's a restaurant, I think it was, in Vancouver accepting Bitcoin. And this is the first cannabis business to accept Bitcoin. So let's watch this. I've been a little bit hard on this guy just because of his tip thing, but this one, I think this was more in better taste.
The first cannabis store in Canada to ever accept Bitcoin as a payment option. I will get Tiger Blood gummies, please. I pull out my phone, I press the Coinos button with one click, and then I press the send button. Then I press the scan button. I scan their QR code that they have here. He tells me how much I owe him. $671. I type in 671. I press next. Add a tip. Absolutely not. I do not think he deserves a tip. I had it on 20%. And then it's just asking me to confirm. I'll press the send button. The printer prints out a receipt, which is directly connected to the owner's Bitcoin wallet.
So, I mean, I could say whatever I want about his approach to it, but we need to give him some props. I don't know who that guy is from Coinos, but it looks like he's making some really good progress for businesses within Bitcoin. It seems like he's moving things forward here. So it's definitely worth sharing. It's worth giving him some props for doing that. And so here's some information. This is what I love about it too, because guys like this with Coinos, not only are they getting businesses to accept Bitcoin, they're reducing their fees on the business end of things. And I know as a retailer, as a consumer, most people don't really understand how much businesses pay in merchant fees for every transaction. It's 2, 3, 4% every transaction on Visa, MasterCard. And that shit adds up. If you're a business owner, that cuts your margins by 2 or 3 or 4% just by having to pay MasterCard and Visa. So not only are they actually helping businesses save fees, they're increasing their total market because Bitcoiners love supporting other Bitcoiners, but they're also getting free promotion out of it. Look at this. So you can see here, the first cannabis store in Canada's history accepting Bitcoin, Blunt. This is their address. That's their website. And these guys do it for free. We set up businesses to accept Bitcoin. It's still, I think the process there is a little bit clunky in terms of the customer actually having to type in the amount. I feel like that's a little bit weird for what we're used to, but at the same time, it's pretty easy to figure out. And if it's wrong, then that's a whole nother issue, but you'd think that a customer should be able to type it in, unless you're at a cannabis store. Maybe then their mind isn't in the right spot. But anyway, so he paid $6 for some gummies. Canada might be the only place in the world where you can buy gummies for cheaper than. So that was, I think it was $6.18. I saw a bag of chips, a bag of Doritos last week here for $7.29. So what do you want? Gummies or chips or both? It's going to cost you $15 if you got the munchies. Anyways, big shout out to Coinos. Big shout out to the guy who keeps making those videos and onboarding new businesses. That's what we need. It's exactly what we need. People need to want Bitcoin. And so shout out to him for getting that done. Andrew says, I would trust Bitcoin up until a total grid collapse. Never put all your eggs into one basket. I think that's the standard response from a lot of people is that, if the grid goes down, Bitcoin's going to be in trouble. if the grid goes down, we have way more things to worry about than our monetary system. Should you have some money in cash? Yes. But if you have, I'm not saying cash versus Bitcoin. I'm saying your checking account versus Bitcoin. That's what I was getting at. Because if the grid goes down, your checking account's going to be in a much worse place than Bitcoin. Because when the grid comes back on, we're going to have no idea how much money you had in the bank. Probably not. Banks are going to be like, oh, we have no idea. We lost everything. Everything got hacked. Our records are destroyed. We don't know who has the money anymore. Then they're going to try to roll out the new CBDCs. But if you're holding Bitcoin and the grid goes down, when the power comes back on, you're going to have the exact same amount of Bitcoin that you had before. You're going to have the keys to the Bitcoin network that will unlock your Bitcoin that you had before. So I understand what you're saying there, but at the same time, like, Bitcoin is a much preferred option than your checkings account. So yes, absolutely, have some cash around the house. I think that that's a no-brainer for most people, because if something does go down just in your local area or widespread, cash is going to be king for depending on how long it takes. Exactly. Everything in the bank will become zero. So I think that that's a pretty, I wouldn't say weak argument, but I just think that that's what most people think is the play. Like, Bitcoin's going to be in trouble if the grid goes down. Well, no, it's not, because every 10 minutes, a new copy of the blockchain gets distributed across the network. So we're never going to lose the information that we had there before, ever. It's way too decentralized. We'll definitely figure it out. But with the banks, we don't know that. They're very centralized. So if something were to happen to them and all their records were destroyed, you might have $100,000 in the bank, and they might just say, well, everything's gone. We have no idea who had what. Or they might say, our government is in collapse. We need to take some assets. Oh, you got $100,000 in your checking account? All right. It's ours now. Sorry about that. But we don't have a choice. It's for the greater good. You have to help, especially here in Canada. You have to help out your neighbor here. I wish I would have brought up that video from Trudeau that I saw on the weekend. Did you guys see that? Well, yeah, let's watch it. I'll find it, because it kind of ties into what I'm talking about here. Well, I'll watch that quickly. What time is it? 9. But if you don't love me now, copy. Sorry for the little delay here. I'll take maybe some time to give a shout out to everybody who actually went on to their Spotify account, whether they're a podcast listener or not, and left a comment and a review. Actually, the amount of people listening to the podcast have been increasing substantially, but the amount of like followers on Spotify was like completely stagnant for the last 6 months. So whoever was commenting on there, whoever's leaving a review, it doubled the followers over the weekend. So I very much appreciate that. And if you were somebody who did it and I didn't zap you because, I didn't know you did, make sure to shoot me an email, 88sats@proton.me. Just say, I left a comment here. Here's a screenshot or not. And here's how you can zap me, and I'll send you 1,000 sats. So that I'm going to carry that forward too. If you got some time today, just go to your Spotify quickly, leave a nice review or just any sort of review. Give us 5 stars in Spotify, and then share a screenshot on NOSTR or email it to me, and I'll send you some sats for it. It helped. It actually helped, which was surprising to me. So here's the video that surfaced on the weekend. I've watched this probably 10 times already, and I'm sure people have seen this as well, but it's worth watching. So this is Justin Trudeau giving some donuts to the steelworkers here. I don't know, I'm guessing this is in Ontario or Quebec, but let's check this out. Minute 20. Look at this guy. He doesn't care. He's like, this guy's absolutely destroying my life, but you know what? He's giving us free donuts, so I'm just going to pig out on one for the world to see.
Hey, I'm good. Just one
Well, we got donuts over here if you want to thank you for your hard work.
I can bring some for my kids here.
Okay. The 25% tariffs we just brought in on Chinese steels to help you out.
That's going to keep my job, What about the 40% taxes I'm paying? And I don't have a doctor?
The $400 million we invested in the card means you're going to have a job for
I think you're only here for another year. We won't see you around probably another year.
Well, that's what elections are for.
That's right.
And I look forward to everyone exercising the right to vote.
Yep.
Basic choice. We're going to invest in you and your job.
I don't believe you for a second.
Dental care? You know anyone who got dental care?
Yeah, I pay for it myself.
Okay.
We're like 3 years
You
behind.
have a job and coverage.
Yeah,
but we
four
got
people
seniors.
in my family.
We got
Every
seniors.
time we go for a dental visit, it's costing me about $50 in my pocket per person.
Okay.
Why? I have a good job. You're not really doing anything for us, Justin.
Well, actually, we just invested, so 500,000 people haven't been to the dentist. Got to go to the dentist over the past few months.
Probably like my neighbor that doesn't go to work because she's lazy.
You know
She
what?
doesn't go to work. She lives the same
Most
life I do.
Canadians try to stick up for each other, and that's what we're going to keep doing.
Yeah.
Good luck and prepare your family, sir.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right.
Have a nice day.
Have a good day, sir. All right. Right, the other guys got the donuts. Excellent.
Holy. If that doesn't boil your blood, I don't know. It's absolutely nuts to me that this man is still somehow in charge of Canada. It absolutely blows my mind. He's like, yeah, you tax me 40% on my income. Why? Can you not? Justin's like, well, we gave free dental to seniors. And the guy's like, oh, probably my neighbor who doesn't work because she's lazy. Well, Canadians need to stick up for each other. I don't know why I did it. I don't know why I torture myself with watching that guy. I don't know why I do it. But yeah, it's here's a donut. Here's free dental for seniors. I mean, we're absolutely destroying your livelihood, but we're looking after the seniors in the country get free dental. That's his response to that. So anyways, that's what we have to deal with in Canada. If you're not in Canada, just be very glad that you're not. Because when I see that guy, when I hear that guy, it makes me sick to my stomach of what he's done to our country here. And maybe we'll watch this on the flip side here. We'll maybe end the show with this because, we talked about RFK, we talked about Trump, and then we just saw the flip side of things with Trudeau. But here's another guy. And this is Pierre Poilievre. I think that's how you say it. Pierre Poilievre. He's Trudeau's main opposition. Unfortunately, the way things work here in Canada, the way everything's set up right now, I don't know how much of a chance he has, even though Trudeau is about 20% in the polls. I'm sure they'll figure out a way to install him for another term here. But here's the flip side of Canada. I mean, I don't love Pierre. I think that he eats at the same kind of tables as the people who we very much dislike in the world. But at the same time, at least RFK, at least Pierre, at least these guys are talking about things in like a logical sense. They're at least putting the effort there and putting it out there. Trudeau is just a complete... Trudeau is like the female version of Kamala Harris. They have zero substance. They just say what they're supposed to. They are what politicians, that's what I've always thought of politicians as. Guys like Trudeau, Kamala Harris. But you have people like RFK and like Trump and like Pierre here who are actually trying to explain what's happening to people in real terms. So I watched this video this morning. It's 2 minutes long, but it's a pretty good video. Like I said, I don't think that Pierre, even if he was elected, I don't think he could change much here in Canada. But it just goes to show how different the two sides are in terms of just economic sense, I guess.
Yes.
What are the steps that need to be taken to fix the damages done to inflation?
First and foremost, stop the overspending. Inflation, high taxes, deficits, high interest rates are all symptoms. The disease is overspending. When governments spend too much money, there's only three ways to get it. One is to raise your taxes. The other is to borrow, which means that they'll tax you more later on. And the third way is to print money. Now, printing money seems like a painless way to pay for things, but it's very simple. If you have 10 apples and $10 in the economy, it's a buck an apple. If you double the number of dollars in the economy to 20, you still only have 10 apples. You're not twice as rich. It's just that each apple costs twice as much. And that is a tax on the working people because it chews up the purchasing power of your paycheck, only to pay for excessive government spending, and it balloons the asset values of the billionaires. So it's a real transfer from the have-nots to the have-yots. Inflation is the worst and most immoral tax. It always results from government creating cash. Our government has created about $700 billion of cash in the last 3 years. So we used to have $1.8 trillion of bills, coins, and bank deposits. That was about 3-4 years ago. Now it's up to 2.5 trillion. So that's extra cash, but the economy has only grown by 4%. So the real things in the economy have only grown by 4%. The cash has grown by 40. So the money supply is growing 10 times faster than the stuff money buys, which creates a bidding war. And that's what's driving up inflation. We have to cap government spending with a dollar for dollar law that requires my ministers find $1 of savings for every new dollar of spending, so that they go into their departments, find the waste and mismanagement. They want to spend more here, they have to spend less there, or get a bargain here and there to bring both under budget. Then and only then will we stop the money printing, borrowing, and overtaxation and wrestle inflation to the ground. Thank you much.
That honestly, that kind of reminded me of what the video we watched last week from Ron Paul. Honestly, very, very much the same thing in terms of how bad inflation is. And he talked about, cutting spending, saving where we can. I mean, yeah, that'll kind of get things somewhat under control, but we're at a point now where it's out of control. We're in a debt spiral. So yes, it sounds nice to be able to say those things as a politician. It makes sense. People can, do math with it. And I mean, that's a much better version than what the other side of it says. They say that they're creating jobs, that it's a healthy economy, that they're bringing in new workers, they're bringing in immigration. That's what they talk about. It makes no sense at all. This at least makes sense, but I don't know if he understands that they're past the point of no return now in terms of government spending and debt that the Canadian government has accrued. So two sides of the coin there here in Canada. I know that there's a large portion of our viewers from Canada, so I think it's very relevant. But at the same time, the only way forward is to actually have an asset like Bitcoin or even gold. Canada has no gold anymore. It's all gone. Sold it to China. Gold would be good. Bitcoin would be better, but that's the only way that we're ever going to pay off that debt. It's not by reducing spending in different departments. It'll help, but we can't fix it now. It's too far gone. What did I miss here? AD said that happened in Cyprus. They had a bail-in. Yeah, so bail-in is when the government, like ours will probably be soon, where they're so far in debt and they cannot pay any of their liabilities that they have to take from their own citizens. Bail-in, take out of the banks. Whoever has savings, it's getting taken. Boomy says, for emergency cash, and if you have some land, you can grow your own food. Yes, agreed. You just kind of have to take small steps towards that. It's not something that you can do in a week or in a year, but you just need to start positioning yourself to be ready for what's coming. And thankfully, as much as we want things to accelerate and things to change, it's probably better that things aren't happening too fast, because that would just be complete chaos. At least this way, we have a way to kind of prepare ourselves to figure out the best play forward. And it's things like that. It's just having some cash on hand. It's having some Bitcoin, obviously, some land, some food, a garden. What else we got here? Mikkel says the government in Canada and the US let its citizens pay taxes to uphold the illusion that people fund the government. The money printer works if we pay taxes or don't. Yeah, I mean the whole system's just completely corrupt and criminal from head to toe. I like this one too, AD. It said from the have-nots to the have-yots. That's exactly what's happening. And it is a tax. When you have inflation, the people at the top, they benefit. The people at the bottom get destroyed. And we're going through a hyper version of that right now. And you can see it. Just take a look around. Wherever you are, if you're in the Western world here, as JMF says, all Western countries are under attack, not just Canada. Agreed. And Michael Abbott says, excellent one-on-one from Pierre without a teleprompter. 100%. You look at, that's what I mean. Like, whether you believe him or not, whether you think his intentions are good or not, it's nice just to have somebody who's somewhat intelligent representing your country and representing your economy. I don't think that that's too much to ask. Just have somebody who can speak without a teleprompter and understand what's going on and maybe how we can fix it. I haven't heard one thing in the last, I don't know how long Trudeau has been running this country. 9 years? I haven't heard one thing that he said made any sense in 9 years. He hasn't done one positive thing for Canadians. And it's the exact same thing in the States. Like Kamala Harris has been in government for the last 20 years. She was VP for the last 3.5 years. She's made things a lot worse. And now all of a sudden people think because she's of color and she's a woman that's a good vote. It's nuts. It's nuts. I see My Path to Fire in here. I can't see his messages though, again. But I see that he's, oh, there we go. My Path to Fire says, my wife wants a new car, but I don't want to sell sats. Is that the same? Absolutely. Wait it out. Never sell the Bitcoin. Keep 95% because you're never going to get it back for the same price that you paid for it. If you have to, take on debt. Honestly. And it's not hard to figure out why. That's my answer. Because you're paying, what, 5, 6, 7% on debt every year? Bitcoin's been going up 70, 80, 100% year over year. Like it's not, if you can wait it out, that's definitely the play. You just don't want to get too far over leveraged. Duh. Man, you should see our clown system we have here. How's your prime minister for 9 years, no term limits? It's absolutely insane. It's so crazy. But we're still pretty much under like British law here. And actually, if you listen to, I don't know if everybody's listened to the last What Bitcoin Did or not. It was Maulers, Odell, and Harry Sudik. And they had a couple guests come on. I think Peter's son was on, but Madex was on there too, and he's a Canadian. He's a big-time Bitcoin artist, Madex. And they were talking about Canada. And Peter said, like, the people in Canada are like salt of the earth. And it's true. We're too nice. We're too friendly here in Canada. But great people, so many abundant resources here. We just have idiots. We have a very abusive government, very abusive relationship with our government. And they were talking about the fact that Canadians say sorry because we're just so used to being absolutely trampled on by our governments. It's sad. It really is. But at the same time, I think that if you're somebody who's aware of what's happening, of the corruption, the corruption plus all the really bad things that stem from that, whether it's the kids, the immigrants, all the things that stem from this. If you're aware of the problems here and you're not doing anything about it, that's the biggest problem. At least with Trudeau, you know what his intentions are. But with people who are citizens of Canada and who know what's going on here and aren't willing to do anything to actually make change, you're the problem. And I'm not talking to anybody in this community, because just the fact that you're showing up, the fact that you're choosing to put your time and energy in towards Bitcoin versus the old system, then you're part of that. And you don't need a YouTube channel. You don't need a Bitcoin business to represent that. You're already doing it. You're making change. You're voting with your currency that you're deciding to use. So I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the people out there who are still going to work, still keeping their money in the bank, still holding stocks in the companies who are trying to enslave us. That's the problem. And it's sad. Nice people get taken advantage of. That's Canada itself. And it's exactly, we have a very abusive and unfriendly relationship with our government. It's been like that for a lot of years. And people here have each other's back. And as you know, Trudeau plays into that. The guy said, "You're taxing me too much." And Trudeau said, "Well, you have free dental." He said, "No, I don't. But some people do." "Oh yeah, my neighbor who doesn't work because she's too lazy." "Yeah, well, Canadians have to stick up for each other." Perfect example. Canadians have to so you go to work. You go to work. You stick up for each other. You go to work. She can stay at home. She's going to get all the benefits while you get stomped on. They very much hinder any growth here. They hinder productivity. Nobody's motivated to do anything because the government just takes it all. They harm and hurt and punish the people who are actually trying to be productive to society here. So it's not sustainable. That's the thing. It's shitty because there's going to be a lot of years that we have to pay for it. But again, as much as I hate that man, absolutely despise that man, he has created a whole lot of really good Bitcoiners here in Canada. So governments are temporary. Dictatorships are temporary. But Bitcoin is not. Bitcoin's going to be here forever. And Trudeau himself and their insane government and policies have created a whole bunch of really good Bitcoiners here. And that's going to be what outlasts everything else. So with that, let's end this on a funny note here. I got a funny video to watch. Being nice is not a virtue. There's a difference between being good and being nice. That's very true. Very true. And, you know, be as good as you want, but you still have to stick up for what's right. And you can't be afraid to be, you know, called a dick. Okay. We're going to watch this video, then we're going to jump over to the second part of the show. Talk about my theory on this whole thing. And I've talked about it a little bit before on the second show, but I've been thinking about it a little bit more. So I want to share it today with everybody. So let's watch this video. This is from Bitcoin News, one of the sponsors of the show here. Big shout out to Bitcoin News. Actually, check out their Twitter if you have some time today. Go over to Bitcoin News, check out their Twitter, and they actually did a really good interview with what the hell is their? I'll look it up quickly here. I think it's pinned. Bet Openly. So they did a Twitter Spaces. It was called Bet Openly, Making Bitcoin the Native Currency of Online Competition. So this company is actually using Bitcoin now. I think that there's another one too that uses Bitcoin, but they're using Bitcoin. You can bet on things. You can use it for video game bets. But I'm definitely going to check it out. I don't want to put too much sats into it and lose it, but I'm going to definitely check out Bet Openly. So that was a good interview by Bitcoin News. All right. This is from Bitcoin News as well. What does this one say? Bitcoin is accepted by a growing number of businesses in Dominican Republic. And I think Bitcoin News kind of had the same idea that I have from showing this clip. It's a nice sign. Nice sign she was putting up there. I don't know. That might have been the most useless 6 seconds in Bitcoin history, but I think Bitcoin News understands what gets the views. And I mean, there was absolutely no substance to that video other than the sign. So we're going to end it there for today. And if you're watching this or listening to this on the podcast version, make sure you go check out the video for that one, because you're going to want to see it. Okay. So this has been the daily Bitcoin journey for today. It's called Be the Change. And it is. And, you know, I was going to talk about this at the start of the show today, but I forgot to. But it's, you know, it's a long weekend here in Canada. It's a beautiful day. I'm going to go golf with my dad here in about an hour. But very easy to just sleep in. Very easy to say, well, it's a day off. It's a long weekend. I'm going to spend a few more hours under the covers here. But at the same time, like, we need to be pushing this thing forward. And if you want things to change, you have to be the change. It's not going to come from Pierre. It's not going to come from RFK. It's going to come from you. So whatever it is you're doing, whatever you hope to accomplish here in your life, make sure that you're showing up for it, because this point in history, I think, is going to be one that we look back on in 1,000 years, 100 years even. And it is the inflection point here. We do have the choice. There are two different systems pulling for us, trying to get us into their system, trying to force us down that path. Bitcoin isn't really trying to force us down that path, but it's an option. It's a secondary choice here. So you can sleep in. You can decide to leave your job and just live off of the government paychecks. You can decide that. The choice is yours. It's there. But you're doing a harm to yourself. You're doing a harm to the future if you decide to do that. And I think that everybody here is kind of on the right path, on the right side of things, in terms of wanting what's best for not only us, but for the next generation, the generation after that. So it is these small little choices you make throughout the day that really add up over your lifetime. And if you consider that at a much bigger scale, that's how actual change happens. So yes, be nice to your neighbor, be good people like we have here in Canada. But at the same time, don't be afraid to tell people to go fuck themselves. If they're trying to tell you to do something that you don't want to do, it's not up to them. And we have to start calling out the bullshit. We have to call it what it is, because that is the only way that we're going to move forward here in a sane, logical, common sense world. So with that, I ask that you join us here for the second part of the show. I'm going to be talking about JFK, RFK, Trump, a conspiracy theory, I guess you might say. But I want to give my spin on it. So join us if you'd like to. There are a couple ways you can do that. You can join through the channel. Just go to the 88 Sats channel and you can click join for, I think it's $3 a month, the Bitcoin Journeyman tier. That gets you access to every full show, including today. And to find that, you just go to the feed on 88 Sats radio channel, and there's a link there for Bitcoin Journeyman members. So you can click that, or you can go to below the video here, click Living in the Future. It's the second part down. Click that, join the Living in the Future tier, $5 a month, and it gets you every show, every full show, gets you into the Signal community, the Discord. I'm not going to try to sell it today. I think you're going to want to watch this if you're into this kind of stuff. So find a way to join us today. It's going to be a good one. I might have just muted somebody by accident there. All right. So with that, join us for the second part, or if not, we'll see you right back here first thing tomorrow. Thanks for being here today, and thanks for being here every day. Have a great Monday, long weekend Monday, and enjoy what we have left here of summer.